Most wildfires follow a predictable playbook. They move based on fuel, weather, and the lay of the land. But when fire gets into a canyon, it doesn't just bend the rules, it rips up the rulebook. The landscape itself becomes an engine of destruction, a crucible that creates its own terrifying physics. A single spark from a lightning strike can become a mile-high inferno that moves faster than an Olympic sprinter, generating its own weather and laughing at any attempt to control it. This isn't just fire, it's a detonation. So what is this deadly design hidden inside these beautiful, sprawling chasms? What's the science that makes canyon fires so explosive, and what turns them into a firefighter's absolute worst nightmare? Welcome to Dumb It Down, where we cut the jargon, keep it snappy, and make big ideas simple. If you're new here, smash that subscribe button and ring the bell so our videos come to you fresh from the oven. To understand this, we have to go to the north rim of the Grand Canyon. For nearly a century, the Grand Canyon Lodge was perched there, a monument to rustic beauty. Built back in 1928 from native limestone and ponderosa pine, it was designed to be part of the landscape, a place for community and quiet awe. It was more than a building, it was a living art gallery where generations of families made memories against one of the most breathtaking backdrops on Earth. Then came July 13th, 2025. A bolt of dry lightning from a storm on July 4th had sparked what became known as the Dragon Bravo fire. What started as a manageable blaze on a drought-parched landscape quickly turned into an unstoppable monster. Fanned by ferocious winds gusting up to 40 miles per hour, the fire didn't just burn through the forest, it exploded. In a terrifyingly short time, the historic lodge, along with over 70 other cabins and homes, was swallowed by the inferno. Hundreds of employees were suddenly without a home, and countless vacations of a lifetime were gone in a puff of smoke. When the smoke finally cleared, all that remained of the main lodge were its stone chimneys, standing like lonely sentinels in a field of ash and ruin. They're silent witnesses to the loss, not just of a building, but of a place where memories were made. This was no ordinary wildfire. This was a canyon fire, and if we want to prevent future tragedies, we have to understand the brutal science that let this happen. Every fire, from a candle to a forest fire, runs on the same basic recipe, the fire triangle. You need fuel to burn, heat to start it, and oxygen to keep it going. In a typical wildfire, these three ingredients are shaped by the environment, the amount of fuel, the weather, and the topography, the shape of the land. Usually, weather is the wild card. A sudden wind shift can turn a fire's calm edge into its raging front. But in a canyon, topography is king. It doesn't just influence the fire, it takes command, creating a micro-environment so extreme that researchers call it explosive fire behavior. Picture a fire on a flat patch of forest. The heat radiates forward, slowly preheating the trees and brush in its path. Now take that same fire and drop it at the bottom of a canyon. The game completely changes. The steep, narrow walls act like a giant funnel. All that heat, smoke, and gas, which would normally scatter into the atmosphere, gets channeled straight up the slope. This creates a powerful updraft known as the chimney effect. This effect is devastating for two big reasons. First, it's like a giant bellows, sucking in huge amounts of fresh oxygen to feed the flames. Second, and this is the terrifying part, this superheated column of air rushes uphill, flowing directly over all the vegetation in the fire's path. It's like aiming a massive hairdryer, thousands of degrees hot, at the forest. The fuel doesn't just get warm, it's flash-dried and cooked to its ignition point long before the flames even get there. So when the fire front arrives, the fuel doesn't just burn, it detonates all at once. The spread is no longer a crawl, it's an eruption. As a terrifying rule of thumb, for every 10-degree increase in slope, a fire's speed can double. The Dragon Bravo fire was that deadly design in terrifying action. The stage was set with factors that are becoming all too common in the West. A long drought had left the forest bone dry, and decades of trying to suppress every fire had created a massive buildup of fuel. The whole landscape was a tinderbox just waiting for a spark. When lightning finally delivered that spark, the canyon's topography took over. The fire started low and, thanks to the chimney effect, began its relentless climb uphill. But it wasn't just moving, it was building energy. The narrow canyon focused the heat so intensely that the fire grew to an enormous size, becoming what's called a plume-dominated fire. The column of smoke and heat got so big and powerful, it started creating its own weather system. Towering pyrocumulus clouds, fire clouds, blew up high above the canyon, visible for hundreds of miles. These aren't normal storm clouds. They are born from the fire's incredible heat and can create powerful, erratic winds and even more lightning, sparking new fires miles ahead of the main front. The Dragon Bravo fire was no longer just a fire. It had become a self-sustaining mega-fire, a vicious cycle of destruction feeding itself. This is what makes a canyon fire a firefighter's worst nightmare. Standard tactics are almost useless. You can't get ahead of a fire that makes its own wind and hurls embers a mile away. The speed and intensity are just overwhelming. The heat is so extreme that water or retardant dropped from the air often evaporates before it even hits the ground, and sending crews into the path of a fire that can go from a walking pace to a full sprint in seconds is a death sentence. This isn't new. The 1994 South Canyon fire on Storm King Mountain in Colorado showed us the same terrifying physics. A sudden blast of wind lined up perfectly with the steep terrain, causing the fire to race uphill and overrun a crew, tragically killing 14 elite firefighters. The 2013 Yarnell Hill fire in Arizona, which killed 19 members of the Granite Mountain Hotshots, was driven by a violent thunderstorm outflow that shoved the fire across the landscape with unimaginable speed. In every case, the shape of the land acted as an amplifier, turning a dangerous situation into an uncontrollable catastrophe. The men and women who fight these fires are heroes, walking into situations most of us can't even imagine. Their bravery is absolute, but they're often up against a force of nature that has totally rewritten the rules. One of the best ways we can support them is by being prepared ourselves. If you live in or near an area that's prone to fire, what steps have you taken to protect your home? Let's talk about it in the comments. It's a conversation that could save lives. The loss of the Grand Canyon Lodge is a heartbreaking lesson about what happens at the Wildland-Urban Interface, or WUI, that zone where our towns and homes push right up against wild, untamed land. As more of us build in these beautiful but volatile places, the risk of tragedy skyrockets. But the same science that explains why canyons explode also gives us the knowledge to fight back, not with water and shovels, but with foresight and smart preparation. Our single best defense is creating defensible space. This is simply a buffer zone around a home where the vegetation is thinned out and managed. It's designed to slow a fire down and give firefighters a safe space to work. It's a simple idea with huge results. Defensible space is usually broken into zones. Zone 0, the first 5 feet from your house, should be completely free of anything flammable. Think gravel or stone patios, not bark mulch. Zone 1 extends 30 feet out. Here, you want to clear out dead plants, keep the grass mowed short, and make sure tree branches are trimmed away from the roof. Zone 2, from 30 to 100 feet, is all about thinning things out. The goal is to reduce the overall fuel density, creating breaks that force a fire to lose its momentum and drop from the treetops to the ground, where it's far less intense. Creating defensible space isn't about clear-cutting your property. It's about strategic gardening. It's choosing fire-resistant plants, keeping your gutters clean of pine needles, and moving the woodpile away from the house. It's about thinking of your home as part of a bigger ecosystem, one that includes fire. The physics of a canyon fire are a humbling reminder of nature's raw power. The chimney effect, where the land itself funnels heat and pre-cooks fuel, can turn a single flame into an explosive event that builds its own weather and defeats our best efforts. The loss of the Grand Canyon Lodge is a painful lesson written in smoke and ash, a warning of what can happen when the perfect conditions align in these deadliest of designs. But fear isn't the final lesson here. Understanding is. By grasping the science behind why canyons explode, we can learn to respect their power. By using proven strategies like defensible space, we can lower our risk and give our firefighters a fighting chance. We can't tame the fire, but we can learn to coexist with it. The silent stone chimneys on the North Rim stand as a monument to what was lost, but they must also be the foundation on which we build a more resilient and fire-aware future.